you got to buy a house, right? How are you going to buy houses if you don't like have a house? Not the right advice for everybody, but for me, like that just kept ringing in my head, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's right. Like I've got to have a solid foundation before I move to, everything else. So
I know recently you made some, probably within the last year or so, you made some steps to start investing yourself. What did that look like? What were your first moves into investing, and then what are some things that you're working on now?
Sure. So I guess the very first thing I did was I bought a house that I was able to house hack. There's a whole little story behind that, but that's really the thing that enabled a lot of other things, because it's directly connected with your living expenses, and that's usually your biggest expense.
Right.
So that has helped tremendously. And there's been an evolution there of okay, let's start doing a long-term rental and then transitioning to midterm or Airbnb, stuff like that.
Right.
So I've gotten a good bit of experience just on the landlording side,
right,
just doing that. And it's only one unit, right? So
was this the ADU as well?
Right.
Yeah,
So this
awesome.
is this all coincided with my first house purchase, right? Because when I met you, the Starbucks that you went to and met Carly at was maybe 2 minutes walk from our apartment. And so we were living in an apartment, and it's this is another one of those crazy random meetups. Is I was painting a house. I don't usually paint houses, but I was painting a house, and as I was going back to the truck to get something, I saw somebody that I recognized from one of the meetups. I saw Ford, and I was like, hey Ford, what's up? And he kind of recognized me, but he was like, yeah, do you want to see what I'm doing? This is my Airbnb right next to the house.
Sweet.
And he took me around and he showed me in, and I'm in paint clothes and stuff, and he just cleaned the place. So I was not wanting to get paint all over his nice clean Airbnb. Right. He was explaining to me how it worked, and he's like, hey, so there you go. At what are you up to? What are you, and I was like, oh, I'm, looking for I can't even remember what I was trying to do at the time, but it was something to do with single family housing. And he's like, oh, where do you live? And I told him, and he's like, dude, you got to buy a house, right? How are you going to buy houses if you don't have a house? Not the right advice for everybody, but for me, that just kept ringing in my head, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's right. I've got to have a solid foundation before I move to, everything else. So started looking at how house hacking works, and then I just sent Carly a bunch of, really torn up duplexes in the city. Mm-hmm. And she said, there's no way that I'm, moving from an apartment to a duplex in the city. That's worse. Right. I'll find something I want to live. And she did. It's a great setup, a detached unit. It's a 2-2,
right,
in
that's
our
awesome.
backyard.
Yeah,
it's awesome. That was the first thing that really set up a lot of success after that.
And you did a long-term rental there. You went through different phases.
Yeah. So
are you doing long-term now?
No. So now it's midterm Airbnb.
Okay.
And I wanted to do midterm and Airbnb at the start, and then some other investors I'd gone on a trip with, a masterminding trip. They were like, you've never done this before. And I explained to them my situation, and buying this house was going to take almost all of my savings, right? They're like, just get a long-term tenant in there, baby steps, right? And it's great advice, because that gave me the ability to recuperate over the next year, and figure out how to do the long-term thing. And then when they'd moved, they're the best tenants I think I'll still ever have. Likewise, those investors had given me all the advice on okay, this is how you find a good tenant, all of that stuff, make sure you're doing it right. So all of this success, right, is all from great advice that I've been given.
For sure.
And through the network, right? So that's a huge piece of it.